Hello and welcome back to this channel. My name is Muhammad, and in this episode, we are talking about a matchlock firearm that exists around Southeast Asia, known as the Istinggar. I think it's called. Now, the Istinggar is a type of matchlock firearm built by various ethnic groups of maritime Southeast Asia. However, yeah, most of these specimens in the Malay Peninsula are Malay in origin, as they were made in the Langka Suka lands of Kedah. The firearm itself is a result of Portuguese influence on local weaponry after their capture of Malacca in 1511. The name Istingar comes from the Portuguese word of espingarda, espingarda, meaning arquebus or firearm. But then this term was then corrupted into Estengarda, eventually to Settingar or Istingar. The word has many variations in the Nusantara Archipelago, such as Settingar, Settengar, Istengara, and yeah, that's some of the few. The introductions of firearms in the Nusantara Archipelago could be traced to the Mongol invasion of Java in 1293, which intro- which in 1293, which allowed for the Javanese to get an idea of the firearms and how to use them and making them. Thus, the recording of the predecessor to the firearms to the firearms the of the in Southeast Asia. No, the of the Nusantara Archipelago, called the Badil Tomba. I think it's called. It is a pole gun, which is those those long bamboo sticks that have the metal hand cannon. It's a hand cannon basically. The predecessor to all firearms. The Badil Tomba was used by Java in 1413. However, the knowledge of making true firearms came after the middle of the 15th century, from the most probably from the Arabs when they came down to trade. Before before the arrival of the Portuguese, the Malays had already possessed an early firearms which were known as the Java arquebus, by according to the Chinese. The Java arquebus, during the Portuguese invasion of Malacca, was noted to have the ability to penetrate through a ship's hull from one side out the other. Apparently, it also has a reputation of being able to shoot a sparrow out of the sky. I don't know. Or maybe I'm thinking of that wrong, but it was known to be pretty accurate. However, prior to the Portuguese arrival, Malays were apparently a people who lacked firearms. They were people who lacked firearms, and yeah, the Malays were people who lacked firearms, and the Malay Chronicle Sejarah Melayu mentioned that in 1509 they do not understand why bullets kill, which indicated their unfamiliarity of using firearms in battle. The Portuguese in Goa independently produced their own matchlocks starting in 1513. They merged German Bohemian gunmaking with Turkish gunmaking traditions, which resulted in the Indo-Portuguese tradition of matchlocks. And Indian craftsmen modified the gun design to make them very short, with an almost pistol-like buttstock, as well as reducing the caliber and making the gun lighter and more balanced, which the Portuguese liked, since they did a lot of fighting aboard ship and on river craft, so they pretty much valued a more compact gun. There were two different lock mechanisms used in Indo-Portuguese gun. One has a single leaf mainspring of the Lusitanian gun prototypes, which can be found in Ceylon, Malay Peninsula, uh, Sumatra, and Vietnam, and the other has a V-spring mainspring, which can be found in Java, Bali, China, Japan, and Korea. The lock mechanisms of Istinggar is usually made of brass. The Malays use bamboo covers in their matchlock arquebus barrel and bound them with rattan to keep them dry in wet weather. Istingar is Istingars are typically longer than the Japanese guns, and the absence of a channel for the ramrod indicated that they were used resting on a wall or from ship's railing, like the lela or remtaka, which are which are cannons that were of Southeast Asian origin. In this case, the ramrod did not need a compartment. The Malays also made small mallets to drive the musket balls down the barrel. The the Minangkabau people of interior Sumatra are renowned for the manufacture of gunpowder-based weaponry. Okay. Contemporary records of Tabaros 1496 to 1570 indicated that before the arrival of European people, the Sumatrans had not used firearms. Iron and steel were produced in their forts, but by the 19th century they became more reliant on the Europeans. Matchlock arquebus of Minangkabau was dubbed simply as Satinga. They have two other names, but they're too long for me to understand. The production was enough to fill local needs, and they also exported their firearms to other areas such as Aceh, Malacca, and Siak Sultanate. The barrels are made by rolling a flatted bar of iron of proportionate dimensions spirally around a circular rod, beating it till the parts of the former unite. The art of boring is probably unknown to them. This manufacture continued even into the 19th century when matchlock has been way outdated. I, I'm pretty sure matchlocks became outdated by the 17th century because by then, I'm pretty sure around the 1600s, people were already using flintlocks. A manuscript called Ilmu Badil means knowledge of firearms is a treatise about this type of Istinggar. Minangkabau also produced other firearms, the Teraku or dragoon pistol. The Batak, the Batak people used matchlock guns with locks made of copper and were regarded by Marsden as expert marksmen. However, the guns of Batak were supplied by Minangkabau traders. Then the then the Makassar people of the Kingdom of Goa maintain who maintained friendly relations with the Portuguese since 1528 from their benefited from their friendship, with Portuguese assistance in building up of their military strength. They converted to Islam in early 1600s, then committed a holy war or jihad on its non-believing neighbor, the Bugis. The Makassar were already manufacturing muskets, probably from the Portuguese espingarda, sometime in the late 16th or early 17th century. And by the 18th century, European people praised the guns produced by their Bugis neighbors, which has a straight bore and fine inlay work. During years of warfare, Bugis and Makassarese soldiers dressed in waju, ranta, or chainmail, and muskets which they had made themselves. And between 1603 and 1606, the Iberian Union troops attacked Ternate twice and reported that the muskets and arquebuses were used by the Moros, or, or Moors, or Muslims. Nicholas Gervais notes that in Makassar, there are no people in East Indies more nimble in getting on horseback to draw a bow, to discharge a fusil, or musket, or to point a cannon than the Makassarese. Eventually, the Istinggar would spread to the Muslim-controlled areas of the Philippines archipelago, where it was known as Istinggar. The 1613 San Buenaventura Tagalog dictionary defines Astingal as arquebus of the kind they used in olden times in their wars, and which came from Borneo, which would appear to be their first reference to them in northern Luzon. Despite this, the Spaniards never faced any in their encounters with the natives at Luzon, as they did in Mindanao. Danau. In 1609, the Spaniards did reported that in Zambales, I'm sorry if I don't know how to say that, many of the natives handled the arquebuses and muskets quite skillfully, since they had seen the Spaniards use their weapons. Then, the Hindu inhabitants of Bali and Lombok, being remnant of the Majapahit Hindus, are famous for their manufacture of matchlocks in the 1800s. Alfred Wallace saw two guns of their manufacture, 6-7 feet long, which proportionately large bore. The wooden stock is well made, extended to the front end of the barrel. The barrels were twisted and finished with silver and gold ornament. For making the long barrel, the natives used 18 in 460 millimeter pieces of barrel, which are first bored small and then welded together upon a straight iron rod. The whole barrel is then worked with borers of gradually increasing size, and in 3 days the boring is finished. I'm sorry if you don't understand any of that. I don't think I understood any of that, to be honest. However, for firearms using like flintlock mechanisms, the inhabitants of the Nusantara Archipelago are more reliant on the Western powers, since no local smith could produce such complex components. These flintlock firearms are a completely different weapon, so they were known by another name, sanapan or sanapang, from which come from the Dutch word snapan. The gun-making areas of Nusantara could make these sanapan. The barrel, and the wooden part is made locally. However, the mechanism is imported from the European traders. The Javanese was among the earliest to modernize. After the VOC began replacing matchlocks with flintlocks in the 1680s, the Javanese had already requested them in the 1690s. Flintlocks and napalm began to appear in the Javanese arsenal in early 1700 AD. And yeah, with the replacement, with the use of flintlocks, the Istinggar was practically not good enough anymore. It's not used anymore. This is this is what the Istinggar look like. As you see, it doesn't have like a normal buttstock. It is as I described. It has a pistol like buttstock where you hold it up to your cheek rather than your shoulder. I guess that's how it works. Though I'm not sure how exactly this is short. Yeah, and I think that's all I have to say for this video. We've gone for about 19 minutes now. That's impressive, honestly. If you're still watching, um, thanks for still watching. Thanks for sticking around, and you know, I'll see you in the next video maybe. Bye.